we have. Apparently the Leica family did not realize that we were bringing out the really expensive kit. We have Lee over here, we have Brian. I'll put their socials down below. Not that anyone really watches my videos anyways. Right, gear-wise, real quick, let's flex. What you got?
Leica Q2, and I've got an M6 in my bag.
Beautiful, and you got a GoPro as well.
GoPro for the video, yeah.
Love it. What about you, buddy?
M6 is
M6.
the main camera today.
Nice.
Got the Q if I fancy doing a bit of digital.
Right.
And in the pocket, not to be left out, I also have a GoPro.
GoPro gang. So yeah, what we're gonna do, we're just gonna go around, take some street photos, take some portraits, and the main aim for me is to just see what this kit lens can do, because I've been using the 35mm for a long time. Super used to, these guys are like, look at them, they're taking photos of me vlogging, because no one in this country vlogs except for me, to be honest. So yeah, I just want to see what this kit lens can do, because I'm so used to taking photos on a 35mm 1.4 art lens, and I'm kind of getting bored of it. So I just wanted to see, just try and give myself a bit of a challenge and see what I can do with a kit lens, and to just basically see if you can take awesome photos with a kit lens, or with just like any lens for that matter. Brian, could you get there? I'm going to take a portrait of you.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see this depth of field.
Hold it like I paid it off.
Hold on, yeah. Let's see how the depth of field is on this. Yeah, let's get you in a yellow one. Yeah, if I could just get you to stand right here. Stand right on this corner. Yeah, dope. And come a bit more closer to me. All right, so far, so good. It's actually just a beautiful day, man. We're just like really vibing. The pictures that I'm getting are turning out pretty bloody awesome. By the way, if you enjoyed the photos, link to my presets down below. But the photos, I'm pretty happy with them. I've done some shallow depth of field stuff. I've done some like really wide stuff. 18-55, dude, you have a really good range of just like wide angle stuff and then also close-up stuff. I took one photo of Brian's Leica. He's holding it. Shallow depth of field, very shallow, bro. You can really see the shallowness of it. So the fact that I don't have the ability to go down to like f1.4, f1.8, it's not a huge like deal breaker for me. One thing that I'm trying to get used to, the fact that this feels like a very cheap lens because it's plastic, it's very light. When you're taking photos with this, you feel like they're not going to be good because it feels like you're taking a picture on a toy lens. I think that's something I'm just gonna have to get used to today, but so far so good. Honestly, I'm pretty happy with the photos that I'm getting. This is real cute.
Yeah.
Feels like we're in London or something. If you could just sit on that top step. Perfect. Nice. It's like really quiet here. This is like eerily quiet, but I guess it's just because we're like in the back side. But yeah, okay, so that picture of Brian that I took, I'm actually quite pleased with it. I wish it was a bit wider, but to be honest, the 35mm would have been a lot more cropped in. So, oh, this looks real nice. Okay, so I've managed to find a way to actually get the focusing pretty on point. The screen in my viewfinder, it's like an actual screen because it's a mirrorless camera, so I'm able to see like super sharp, man, if I'm taking my photos properly or not. The only issue with that is the viewfinder gets fogged up because of my mask, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to use the actual screen, like the camera screen, instead of the viewfinder. So I kind of just have to hold my breath, take the photo, and then move on. I smacked the crap out of my camera when I was trying to climb on something. We have stumbled upon a pretty cool little location here where the trains come by. So this train, that looked horrible. I'm gonna move on. That looks so bad. I've had 2 hours with this lens. I am actually really enjoying it, and I think the photos are turning out real good. Now, I don't know if like the fact that I have a really good camera helps, but I don't know, man. I'm really enjoying taking photos. I got a bit too used to the 35mm. One thing that I realized though with this lens is I'm getting a bit lazy because I have the ability to, you know, zoom in and out. Whereas with the 35mm, because it's a prime lens, I have to move around a lot. I find with this one, I'm kind of standing in place and then just like zooming in, out, Getting a bit lazy, but also I don't know, there's a bit of spark because it's not the best lens in the world. I'm enjoying it. Gonna get a bit of a reflection photo. Haven't taken one of these in quite some time. I don't know if you can hear me. I'm gonna try some like shallow depth of field with some leaves. I just want to see how this does in sort of like low light conditions because he's under like a tree, so we don't have much light hitting him from the sky. So I'm gonna push this lens a little bit, see how it does. Perfect spot for the train, so I'm gonna wait for it to come and I'll get a long exposure. We've had about 3 hours now walking around taking photos. We're gonna do 1 more hour. I'm gonna put this camera away because I actually just wanna, I'm walking around holding 2 cameras and I have no strap on this. And I actually just wanna take proper photos. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna put this away, take a bunch of photos, and we'll wrap this up at my place with like a nicer setting. So let's do that. Hey everybody, so I'm back now. It is 6 o'clock in the evening. Yo, I am absolutely exhausted. Been out since 9 o'clock in the morning, but I really needed it. I've been pretty much cooped up at home for the past year, man. You forget what like fresh air feels and smells like, even though I was wearing a mask. And I really did enjoy that exercise. So we're not here to talk about my health though. We're here to talk about the Kit lens. So my God, dude, having this with me, bro, it took me back. It took me back to when I first started out with photography. But obviously I've developed myself a lot more. I've learned a lot throughout the years. So it was very interesting to take the first lens that I ever had and like implement everything that I've learned into this lens. And boy, oh boy, was it a lot of fun. And I don't know, man, I noticed a lot of things, all right? So first and foremost, I noticed with myself, because this lens is a cheap lens, I noticed that I was quite demotivated to take photos because I was like, man, this is such a cheap lens. It's plasticky. It's not an f2.8 or an f1.8 or an f1.4. The photos are just gonna look crap. Don't bother taking half of these photos. I'd like take my camera up and I'd be like, nah, I'm not gonna bother with that. I don't wanna disappoint myself. Until I looked at the photos and I'm like, damn, man, they're actually pretty damn good. So a lot of it was to do with just like me mentally kind of telling myself that the photos aren't going to be good just because it is a cheap lens. Now, if somebody gave me a lens that looked and felt like expensive but was cheap, I would probably tell myself, yo, these photos are going to look amazing because someone's told me that it's an expensive lens. If I was to give a beginner photographer this lens and say, yo, this was 1,000 pounds, they will probably be so motivated to take photos because they're like, yo, I'm using like pro equipment. When in reality, man, if you just want to take photos, honestly, for no reason other than going out taking photos, it doesn't really matter. I found myself being able to take all the photos that I wanted to take, shallow depth of field, wide photos, street photos, long exposure stuff. I managed to take all of these with ease, no issues whatsoever. Even like the portraits, man, shallow depth of field. Once you zoom into like 35mm, you get that nice blurry background. You zoom out, you get nice vanishing points because it's like 18mm, you know? So my only issue, honestly, is with focusing. Oh, also, hold on. Because the focus ring because this is so small, I noticed that in some of my photos, my finger, the edge of my finger was in the shot, like in the bottom corner. Obviously, an easy way to rectify that is by just cropping a little bit. But what I noticed, a big issue for me was focusing. Because this doesn't have autofocus, because it's on a Sony a7S with like a cheap lens adapter, the autofocus doesn't work, so I have to manually focus. And my issue with that was when I was looking on the camera screen, it was very hard to see if it was perfectly in focus or if, like, for example, his face was out of focus whereas his ears were in focus, you know? So that for me was what I was finding quite difficult to kind of figure out. I mean, an easy way that I rectified this was by looking through the viewfinder. The issue was because I was wearing a mask, it would get fogged up. So I'd have to like hold my breath, make sure the focus was perfect, take the photo, and then, yeah. So that's how I kind of got around to that. But I did notice still a few of the photos were kind of out of focus, but I think that was pretty much on me. One thing that I noticed about this lens where you can tell it was taken on a cheap lens was when I was actually like analyzing the photos, proper zooming in, you could see that it was just kind of low quality. And this is something that for me is a big issue, because whenever I take photos, I'm always like, all right, I have to treat this as if one of these photos is gonna pop and is gonna make me, you know, super like popular, like you know, people are gonna see it and they're just gonna fall in love with it, and then someone's gonna be wanting like the picture blown up into like a billboard or something. And I feel like that's a good thing to do, by the way, because it just, you know, it motivates you to get like it motivates you to get creative and to just like be, you know, just to try and like challenge yourself, you know, to get different types of photos. So obviously for me, like looking at that, I know that if I blew that up into a billboard or a huge print, it wouldn't look that good. Obviously when it's super small, it looks absolutely fine. There was another point that I wanted to make here. Oh yes, so I wanted to see what this was like in low light conditions, because, you know, it's f3.5. Now, because the Sony a7S is fantastic in low light, I feel like the lens was saved by the camera. I took some stuff like on ISO, I think 1000. There was really no grain in there. And I did that with the indoor shots in Glasgow University. I did that with Brian kind of amongst the trees where like the light was gone and I had to crank up the ISO. It was perfectly fine. I feel like, once again, that is because of the camera. It's a powerful camera. So I don't know if it might be like an unfair kind of, you know, thing to judge because I've got this lens on a really powerful camera. But there we go, that is my findings, guys. So would I recommend this to like people? Honestly, if you're a beginner, you don't have the money to buy a really expensive lens, and someone says, look, I want to get photos like you, I want to get really good photos, what lens can I get? This is my budget. I would honestly say, dude, get this. It's an all-rounder lens, 18mm, 55mm, so you have wide, you have close-up, and it does the job, man. If it's just what you want to go out, practice, take photos, this does the job. Don't spend thousands of pounds yet unless you know you're in love with photography and you've kind of, like, I don't know, done a bit of like trial and error, you know, to then say to yourself, yo, I'm gonna bump up. So yeah, on the whole, 2 thumbs up for this lens. For real, dude, I'm very surprised. So here is a montage of all the photos that I got. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Presets are linked down below if you enjoy these edits. And subscribe, comment, you know, like, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you very much for viewing this video. What the hell? Peace.